morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Thank you for being here. And thank you for having us. This is such an important issue. I'm going to try and stay here. It's hard for me. I was telling Aaron, what I do is I'm a supervisor in the felony division, and I've been with the prosecutor's office a little over 13 years. And what I do is I try cases in front of juries. So I always walk around. I always do this, and I talk with my hands. And so I'll try and stay here for the cameras this morning. Thank you for allowing us to come, because this is such an important issue for us. As prosecutors, we realized about 6 or 7 years ago, identity fraud just exploded. And what happened is we're on the tail end of this thing, and we're trying to, the dog's trying to wag, the tail's trying to wag the dog. How do you fix this? It's really hard, and I don't know that we've fixed it yet. But what we've tried to do is say, okay, well, if we're always at the tail end of this thing, let's try and get in front of it. So one of the ways we've done that is by doing seminars just like this, where we come, meet with people, tell people, hey, this is what identity fraud is, and then more importantly, how can you prevent it from happening? So, awareness is the key, and hopefully we'll accomplish some of that today, answer some questions that you have. We have a PowerPoint. Don White, again, this is identity fraud. I'm Kevin Miles. I'm not Don White. Much more smarter than I am. But I'll fill in and hopefully do a good job for you here this morning. But the PowerPoint, we'll go through it. And obviously at the end, if you have any questions, a lot of times in the past when we've done these, we've just kind of gone off of the PowerPoint as a basis for it. Then we've kind of broken down into discussions. People have particular questions and things like that. So what I'd like to share with you, I know we're filming for other areas as well, but mostly what I'm going to draw on are examples from Clermont County that we have prosecuted. So most of you live in Clermont? Okay. Well, that's, these are cases from Clermont County. So the victims could be you. Could be your neighbor. Could be certainly somebody you know. So let's go through it. Let's go ahead and get started. Identity fraud, well, what is it? Identity fraud or theft is the stealing of another person's personal identifying information, like social security number, your insurance information, credit card numbers, anything that pertains to you. And why do they do this? Obviously, to engage in illegal activities. Identity fraud is a state crime. There is a specific section, it's a felony offense to impersonate somebody or take somebody's identity. Usually what we see is just what we're talking here, someone who's gotten somebody's information through various means, which we'll go into in a little bit, and as a result of that, they've done something with it. They've gone, they've gotten a credit card out in their name, they've accessed their checking account and drained their checking account, things like that. So we'll go into details a little bit of that more just in a little bit, but identity fraud is the fastest, it's not considered, it is the fastest growing white-collar crime. Why? Because it's really easy for these guys to do. And unfortunately, the banking systems and the credit card systems that we have in place now make it too easy for identity thieves to once they obtain our information, to get credit cards, to get access to things. So, and I would throw this out, how many of you, when you went to Kroger's or Walmart or something, when you scan to get your items, you use a check card, right? Most of us? I was one of the last people to use a check card. I'm a cash guy, right? But you use the card. Do they ask you to see do they ask you to see an identification to see that it's you? They don't, right? We just give that up for convenience sake, and it makes it very easy for thieves once they have that. You see cases where there's a gentleman there and it's a female on the name of the card. I mean, it's real simple, but it's a check, and that's for you. And as you could probably attest in your own lives, they don't do it very often. Well, identity fraud certainly is the fastest growing white-collar crime that we have. These are some statistics that we have. Over 2,000 victims per day are estimated to lose 20 to 30,000 per incident. 10 million, these are from the FBI, by the way. 10 million individuals were victims of identity theft in 2002. The next 5 years, it's an estimate that 1 in 4 people, that's those odds, we have to change those odds. That's way too many. Victim of identity theft. And why? Because it's so easy for them to do, and we need to protect our information. We make it too easy for the thieves to take it. Victims spend, this is the big thing, you spend 175 to 200 hours repairing the damage, if you can even repair it. The problem with identity fraud is once it's been taken, by the time you figure out that your identity's been stolen, it's been used probably for a year. That's what the statistics say. So, and you can imagine the havoc that it wreaks on someone's credit. Usually what happens is someone goes to get a house, goes to get a loan, they run a credit report, and they say, well, you got this, you got this, you got that. Why? I don't remember getting a, an account with Chase or something. You didn't. Some identity fraud thief did. So it's one of those where we're catching it on the tail end. Estimated 2/3 of identity fraud incidents go unreported. It can take 12 to 14 months before a victim can even become aware that your identity is stolen. That's frightening. Very frightening statistic. What information is used by thieves for identity fraud? Here's the thing. We try and think of it in law enforcement, think of identity fraud as, what these guys and gals are doing is trying to put together a puzzle, a piece of a puzzle. They're going to go through your trash. They're going to try and, for various different means, get your information. Once they get it, they don't need all of it. They just need a little bit of it. If they have your date of birth, and they have your mother's maiden name, for example, if they have your social security number, wow, that's pretty much it, right? But usually that's not the case. Usually they have your date of birth and some other information. They'll put it together, like putting a puzzle together, and they'll put together a picture of you. And once they've got your date of birth and maybe your mother's maiden name, from a little bit of digging, a little bit of research, they can call and they can you'd be surprised at the type of things that they can accomplish with that. With just a little bit of information, so it's very important to safeguard all your information. The most common things they're looking for are social security number. All right. I would ask you this. At this point, everybody came here this morning. Think about it. Ladies, in your purses that you have on you, and gentlemen, your wallets, what do you have inside there right now? Do you have more than one credit card? Okay. Ladies, do you have more than one credit card? Probably. My wife carries, a bunch of them. I said, don't do that. What other information do you have inside your wallet? If somebody stole your purse or your wallet right now, what information would they have? What kind of picture would they be able to put together of you? You'd be surprised. Anybody have their social security card on them? In their wallet? Okay, hopefully it's locked up safe. The problem we run into is Medicaid, the Medicaid cards. Guess what that's got on it? You ever seen it? It's got Social Security. You have a Social Security number right on it. So you have to be very, very careful if they get a hold of your information. So these are things you're looking for. Social Security card, date of birth, in conjunction with other pieces of information is a lot of what we see. It can be used in a lot of different ways to compromise your identity. Current, previous address, phone numbers can be used. So there's a variety of different information. Mother's maiden name, in many instances, the maiden name of the victim's mother may be used as a password for financial accounts. That's very, very common. So once they can get that, along with some other items tied into you, they can access a lot of things. Financial account information, checking, savings account, credit cards, debit cards, financial planning. That goes without saying. Everybody get those things in the mail where they ask you, hey, you qualified for this credit card, right? What do you do with those? You just simply pitch them in the garbage? That's easy money for an identity fraud thief, okay? But you have to shred them, okay? And we'll talk about that. You want to shred those documents because what they do is, that's got basically a lot of information about you. And they've got one, all you have to do is call it in and get it rolling, right? How do identity thieves obtain this information? This is a big thing. And let me talk to you first about Clermont County, because we all live here. I know we're being taped, but I think the same thing would apply wherever we are in the United States. The main ways we've seen it, and what we've prosecuted here locally, is the main way is mailbox. Okay, everybody's got to pay their bills. Now, when you write out a check to your mortgage or a check to the electric company, what do you do with that? Do you go put it in your mailbox and put a flag on it that says, "Hey, everybody, we've got a check in here"? What do you do? Well, here's what you should do. It's unfortunate, but this is the society that we live in today. I'll tell you what I do. If I'm mailing, Mr. Dean a letter, I'll put it in my mailbox and I'll put the flag in. Not a problem with that. If I'm going to mail a check to Mr. Dean, I'm going to go down to the post office and drop it in a big blue box. That way it's secure. Because I'm very aware of this, and that type of heightened awareness is what you have to have. Because we've had multiple identity thieves in Clermont County. It's so easy. That red flag says, "Come and get it," and they do. And they take your mail, and they go through it. And guess what they have now? They might be able to forge and scratch out, pay to the order of someone else, and you'd be surprised who would cash these things. You'd be surprised. They don't go to the bank. Where do they go? They go to the grocery store, or usually a gas station. And why does a gas station cash these checks? because they get a percentage of it, right? The bank doesn't get anything. When you cash a check, they give you your money, right? These places get a percentage of it, and actually that's why they don't look and screen it as well as a bank would. Let's just say they don't do that. What else do they have? They have your routing information, they have your bank information, they have a lot of information, account information, you name it. So you're putting that stuff out there and you're putting yourself at risk. So we see a lot of that where they're taking it out of your mailbox. So a couple things. Does anybody have a mailbox that is a lock? Yeah, those are great. I mean, if you can do that, that's the way to do it. They lock them to where you have to get it out. The mailman can put it in, then to take it out, you actually have a key to get it out. The other way is the way I do it. I don't have that type of mailbox, so I actually, if I have a letter that has a check in it, you bet on my way to work, I drive right past the post office in Batavia. I drive by, slip it in the big blue box, and I'm living without the fear of someone taking my checks and doing something bad with them. The other way we see, another way we do it, is just by the typical theft. Ladies, you're in the Walmart and you've got your purse sitting where? Hopefully it's on your arm. Where is it sitting? It's sitting in the basket, isn't it? And we were at Walmart last night, and I was, with my wife and my kids, and I said, excuse me, ma'am, you want to put your purse on your, but he's just weirdo, over here, But that's the thing. I mean, it's right there. So, what happens? We're there shopping. We get distracted. We look at something. We walk over, look at something. Guess what? You would be surprised how fast they are. We have cases. It's on video, but by the time we get it, figure out what's going on, it's too late. We've had multiple cases where they'll work as a distraction team, where one person will come up and they'll distract them, and the other person will reach in and grab your wallet out of your purse. And then you don't know it's not there until you hit the register, and you're like, well, I don't know where my wallet is. Someone's taken it, okay? And then within hours, they're burning up your credit card. They have all your personal information. So vigilance in that regard. You have to be very, very secure with your, and I'm picking on ladies just because that's what we see. Men's wallets are a little bit harder to get to. That's the only reason why they're not as susceptible to that type of theft. But that's a big way. So those are the big two. We have other ways that are much more broad. And they talk about diving through the trash. You'll see that. Again, you can eliminate 99% of that by shredding. Everybody own a shredder? Yeah. Shred. Now, there's some financial documents that you shouldn't shred, right? Accountant in the room. Okay? They'll tell you what? They'll tell you need to keep your bank statements, right, and things like that for 7 years. However, most of the things that you get, you can shred. Like I said, the junk mail where it comes and things like that, you want to get rid of that. Credit card receipts, deposit slips, things like that have your either savings or checking account number on it and your name. You need to basically shred that stuff. Junk mail, we've kind of talked about that. For convenience checks, mailboxes we've talked about. What's another way that they do it? Another way that we see it, let's see if it's on this screen here. Is what we call skimming. And what that is anybody ever got one of those phone calls or seen one of those? Anybody here internet savvy? Yeah? You see the emails, right? Do you open those emails from unidentified sources? What are they doing? Who's on the other end of that? You'd be surprised where they come from. They're usually not in the United States. But what happens is they're skimming for information. They'll call. Will your bank ever call you and say, Mrs. Johnson, we've had some issues with your account. Can you verify your account for us? We're going to need your date of birth, and we're going to need your social security number and your account number. Does that happen? Yes, it does. Does it happen frequently? Yes, it does. And who's the target of that? Primarily? Elderly. And you know why? You know why that is? Yes, absolutely. It's a shame. But we live in a different generation. I was born in 1969. I grew up in the 70s, in the 80s. But my parents, before they're more of a different generation. Remember those times, ladies and gentlemen, where you would go to work and leave your house unlocked, right? Or your car unlocked. It's almost unheard of today. But that's the way it was. Somebody's word meant something. A handshake, that's all it took, right? And the person's word is their bond. You can take somebody at their word. Those days are gone, unfortunately, in the society that we live in today, for the most part. Okay, obviously, I think everyone in this room's a good person, but you've got to be vigilant. Okay, and that's why. So they're targeting the elderly for that reason, because people from that generation are very trusting. That's how they grew up. And again, it's different. When I was a kid, we would go play in the woods, and my parents would have no idea where we were. But it was a different time. My kids now, they can't get 20 feet out of my sight, and I freak out, right? Yeah, because it's all over TV. It's a different time, so just take that into consideration. But elderly, that's their target for the most part, but it's not always that way. Okay, so you certainly could be a target of identity fraud in that regard. So what they'll do is they'll have the con artist, they'll have the skimming. That's over the phone, and usually it's somebody pretty slick over the phone. They'll pose as a bank. They'll pose as somebody from they'll take a guess. I mean, there's only so many different banks out there, and they figure there's a 1 in 5 chance that you bank with Fifth Third, right? So they'll call on behalf of Fifth Third. You call 50 people, you get one person, you're good to go. So that's one thing they do. The other thing they do is over the internet. It's a little bit more sophisticated in that regard, and it's by way of email. They'll send emails, and they'll ask you to open them up, and there could be a variety of different devices used, Trojans, to get inside your computer. But usually what they're looking for is something, your type of information, your date of birth, you to answer some questionnaire or something. Has anybody ever gotten one of those? Yeah. Don't open those. Don't open those. And they're usually from some pretty sophisticated outfits. These identity thieves, there are the guys who steal your mail, okay, guys who go through your trash. That's one level of thief. Then you have the upper level, which is the organized crime level, which is usually who's behind the internet type schemes and frauds. Those people are usually overseas. What they do is they get your information and they usually sell it to organized crime, okay, and they use it for various different ways. But those are some of the ways we see. Again, con artists scamming, stealing a wallet or a purse. We don't see this so much now, but we do see it. We had one case with an elderly lady at one of the banks where the thief just basically came right up to her, behind her, watched her put her PIN number in there, and had all her information. The other thing is they have skimmers, which this is pretty advanced, and we haven't seen much of that here locally, but I'm sure around the United States there's cases of it where they'll actually use a skimmer to where it actually mimics the debit check card. So if you would run your card through, it will accept your information, but deny the transaction, to where they actually, basically what they're doing is they're taking your information off your card when you swipe it, then they have it for their use at a later time. What can identity thieves do with your personal information? You name it. You would be surprised. They can get a driver's license in your name, obtain a credit, open lines of credit. Obviously, they can drain your checking account just like that. You'd be surprised within a half an hour they could probably drain everybody's accounts that's in this room. Obtain cash through financial accounts. Purchase a car. That's a lot of times they'll go on spending sprees. Take a vacation. Sure, on your money, why not? Rent an apartment. They get a phone, utility, create counterfeit checks. They do that a lot. If they can get, again, your routing number and things like that, you'd be surprised how easy it is to create checks on the computer if you know what you're doing. We have guys here in Clermont County that have done it and have been very well at it. Usually the victims of those are businesses. Okay, we've had people get a hold of business checks, and then they'll falsify and forge those documents. Personal checks, I haven't seen very many of those. I'm sure they're out there. But here locally, we've seen counterfeit checks from businesses written on business accounts. Well, here's the big thing. How do we protect ourselves? Well, here's the thing. First, we talked about you don't want to carry unnecessary information with you, for sure. So if you learn anything this morning, limit what you carry. Okay, I always tell my wife, she's got 3 or 4 credit cards. Where are we going with 3 or 4? You're going to need 3 or 4 credit cards. You're not going to need 3 or 4 credit cards. Limit the amount of personal data that you have on you. That's the first thing. So that's one way of doing it. Keep information secure by keeping it in a locked file. Keep it at home. Okay, my Social Security card, I don't carry it with me. Right? None of you should carry it with you unless you're going where? Someplace that requires a Social Security card, right? Yeah, if you're going to see your tax person or something like that and they need that document, think of it like a birth certificate. I mean, you need to hold on to that stuff, keep it in a safe at home, somewhere secure. Don't leave mail out for the mail carrier. That's something that most people don't even think about. That little red flag is a big arm saying, hey, there's probably a check in here. There's maybe something good in here for you. So that's certainly a very fertile area here in Clermont County where thieves, and it's too easy for them. They just drive up, take it out, take a whole line of people's mail out, go back to their hideout, if you will, open it up and see what they've got. Hey, we got a couple checks in here. Let's see what we can do with them, right? And what else? Well, shredding. That's the big thing. You need to learn to shred. I shred a lot of information. There's things that you need to keep. There are things you need to keep. But there are things, most of the stuff that you have, if you went through your stuff, you don't need it. You don't need it. Get rid of it. Receipts from credit card receipts, things like that. Deposit slips, that's big. If they're in your trash and they get a deposit slip, boy, they've got a lot of information they can work with. How do you protect yourself? Well, be aware of who you're giving personal information to. Should you ever give personal information to anyone over the phone? No. The answer is no, absolutely. There is, if someone calls and says, hey, this is Joe from Chase Bank. There's a discrepancy with your account. I'd like to talk to you about that, but I need to verify some information. What should be your next move? Well, Joe, guess what? You have a branch office that's about a mile from me. I'll come see you, right? I'm not going to give you any information over the phone. I'm going to come see you. What else? Well, certainly, anyone calling over the phone, internet, certainly. People, I bought things over the internet, but you want to make sure what? That it's a secure site, that it's got that indication it's a secure, you can make payments that are secure on that site. So those are the big things. Those are the really big things. Protect your credit cards. Again, don't carry more than what you need. Limit the amount of cards that you use. Cancel unused ones, for sure. Pass offers of freebies to sign up for a credit card. Keep a list of credit cards with account numbers, expiration dates, passwords. How many of you have your credit card, don't raise your hand, with somewhere in your wallet or purse is your debit or credit card, and then also contained in that same purse or wallet is a password? I hope not. Okay, you'd be surprised how many yeses we get. So, well, I have so many, I just can't remember. Right? Well, boy, you're making it real easy for them, right? Real easy for them. I wonder what this 4-digit number is, Absolutely, they've already got it. So just beware, beware. And again, that's vigilance. Keep it in a secure place. Again, don't throw away any receipts in public places. Don't leave them laying around. Never, ever give account information or any information over the phone. Keep your PIN numbers and things secure. Don't use the last 4 digits of your Social Security number, date of birth, middle name, your pet's name, things like that. They're just too easy to guess, right? Does anybody have, don't raise your hand, but is that something that we have in the room where your pet's name, okay, is your password? Make it, think about it a little bit. Make it hard, right? You don't want your date of birth or certainly not your Social Security number to be one of your passwords to get into any account. Don't carry passwords or information in your personal wallets. I think we just went through that. Add protection accounts with additional password. That's very, very good idea. Don't give Social Security numbers out to businesses just because they ask for it, certainly. There's no law against asking for a Social Security number. Business may have a policy. They may want it. They may demand that you have it. But I'm sure there's some other way. Ask why it's needed, what it'll be used for, and if there's an alternative information that could be used instead. Usually there is. Certainly don't carry your Social Security number in your wallet or your purse unless you absolutely have to. Keep it in a secure place. And again, I can't think of a time other than going, I think it was for tax purposes, taking my Social Security card out of my safe and then actually taking it someplace. And I felt, I was freaked out the whole time when I was driving, Some additional means and measures of protection. Review all your billing and account statements very carefully. Okay? Don't throw away any sensitive material. Destroy it. I would say shred it. If at all possible, buy a shredder. They're not very expensive. You can get them for probably under $50. Beware of sending personal information over the internet. Certainly don't do that. Don't leave sensitive information or credit cards in motor vehicles. We have a lot of that too. They break into your car. We've had more than a share of those. And and it surprises me as a prosecutor. I see it over and over and over again, and I'm like, why are these people leaving their wallet with their credit cards in their car? I don't get it, but they do. They do. And I think it's because, obviously they're unaware. They're unaware. Now they're very aware. Unfortunately, they're very aware now, but certainly could have been prevented. Regularly review credit reports for suspicious activity. There's a thing called, it's in your materials, I can give you the number. You are allowed to run your credit report. There's 3 different reporting agencies, and you're allowed to get a free one every year. And I would suggest you do that. The reason why is because you want to check. It's you checking to make sure no one, there aren't any unusual accounts, any unusual activity on your credit report. That's a lot of times, it's a very good preventative way. Once a year, you can check it, because what happens again with identity fraud, we always are on the tail end of this thing. We find out after the fact. So running a credit report is a good way to figure out, if you can find something, and you can maybe do something about it before it gets to a certain point. We have group exercise. We've kind of already done that. We'll kind of skip it. Any questions about identity fraud? I'm sure there are. Yes, sir.
I have one. When you get a receipt using your credit card,
Yes, sir.
they have the asterisks and then the last 4 digits.
Last 4.
Is that traceable?
Yeah, well, what it is again, it goes back to it's some information about your account. I'm sure that the business has a reason for putting it on there, but someone who prosecutes identity fraud and theft, I'm not real thrilled with it being there. I'm not real sure what the purpose of it is, but that's why they have it. So it's just one. Now they've got 4 numbers from your credit card number, right? So now all they need to do is piece together the rest of it.
So
If you could call, if I got that, I could call the place and say, hey, this is, hey, I wanted to call and check on, I have something that I just purchased. I want to come by and check on it. Last 4 digits of the credit card or whatever. See what information I get. You gotta understand that it's up to you. The Krogers and the Walmarts of the world, they're not looking out for you. It's just the way it is. They're not. As someone who prosecutes these cases, I had a case that was very similar to the facts that we're talking about. I said, okay, well, great. Walmart or Kroger's is great. They have video. Wow, prosecutor's dream. They have the thing on video. Can I have the video? Well, sure, here's the video. Guess where the video is trained on? Their employee behind the counter. I couldn't even see the guy doing the transaction. Thanks a lot. Appreciate it. That's worthless to me, right? They're not looking out for you. Again, when they scan the things, why? Because they don't want to inconvenience the customer. Because they think it's an inconvenience. Because if someone's inconvenienced, they say, well, I'll just go to Walmart. Every time I go to Kroger, I have to pull my ID out and show them. So it's a convenience thing. So they're not thinking in terms of protecting your personal information. You should be. So I get those. I shred them. Yes, sir.
Would an exception to giving information over the phone be if you initiate the call to your bank?
That's different. Yeah, that's different. That's a known source. So you're calling the source. What I'm referring to is you get those cold calls. You get a call from someone representing themselves to be from your bank or some banking institution that you do business with. That's different. Obviously, if you want to check on your account, you want to call Fifth Third, you dial the number correctly, and they answer Fifth Third, and you talk to somebody there that you recognize. Certainly, you can interact and give personal information in that regard. But certainly, the other flip side of that is you never want to answer those calls unless you know who is on the other end. Good question. Yes, ma'am.
I have 2 questions. How do you keep your passwords? Where
do I keep them at?
On my computer.
For my computer or for what?
For whatever. I have a list on my computer.
Yeah, I don't have them on my computer. I actually keep I have a laundry list. I have actually everything I have copied over, and I keep it in my safe. Along with all the things like my kids' birth certificates, my social security card, things like that. So I keep it in there. You know why? One reason is because I'm not very smart and I forget. And I've got so many different ones that I write them down and I keep it there. Mostly the ones I use on a day-to-day basis, I've got them up here. My check card or something like that, my credit card. I've got those PIN numbers pretty much memorized. But for the most part, everybody in this room, you've probably got, 6, 7, 8 different things that you're using access and passwords for. I've got it written down. I keep track of it. And I've actually got, in one safe, I've got that. In another safe, I actually have the password to that safe because it's, yeah, a lot of passwords. But I know, it's pretty bad, right? But you just got to keep on top of it. That's how I do it. Yeah.
Secondly, what about the companies like LifeLock?
Yeah, LifeLock's good. I don't have anything bad to say about LifeLock. Obviously there's a fee that they charge. What they do is they basically monitor your it's really what they're doing is a constant monitoring of your credit report, if you will. And I don't have anything bad to say about LifeLock. I think it's a great idea. Obviously, the bad side is that they charge you for this. It'd be great if everybody was able to get this service free. But yeah, certainly a good product. And they are cashing in on this. You know, they're aware, and somebody said, hey, you know, identity fraud is exploding. You know, people are going to be, you know, freaked out. People want some security to know that they can, you know, rest assured that no one's, if someone does access their account, someone's going to let them know. And that's what LifeLock does. And it's a good company. I've heard nothing bad about it, and it's only going to benefit you, something like that. But unfortunately, most people can't afford to pay $30 a month, you know, for that service or whatever it is. But I have nothing bad to say about it. Certainly the idea is right. Yeah. Any other questions? No? Okay. Yes, yes, ma'am.
I just recently refinanced.
Okay.
And so when you refinance, you know, or take out a loan, you give them everything you've got.
Yeah. Yeah.
Nothing is missing.
No, and that's
So
the.
all you have to do is have a trust of all those people that they're not going to leave and decide to become criminals.
Well, you better hope not, because those people are working for the bank, you know. And if you can't trust the people at the bank, then we're all in a world of hurt. Usually, I've never seen a case where someone from the bank has taken information there. I would hope that the large bank, that they would screen their people, you know, to where we're not going to have issues with that. I've never seen that. Not to say it couldn't happen, but you're absolutely right. Any transaction like that, you're giving all your information. So certainly, what do you do with the back end of that? I think you can trust the banking people, but then you have your information. What do you do with it when you leave the bank? Hopefully, you go home. You put it someplace secure and safe. Because if somebody does get a hold of it, they break into your car while you're in Kroger's and they steal that, they've got all your information. So everything. It makes it very easy. So our job here as prosecutors is to make people aware, hopefully raise awareness, and give you some ideas of how steps you can take to protect yourself. Biggest thing is knowledge. Is like getting out into the public, letting people know, your audience know. Identity fraud is very real. 1 in 4 people. Those statistics are off the chart. And why? Because it's so easy for these thieves to do it. That's the thing. These guys aren't, Albert Einstein. It's just they're persistent. You know, you call. You try 20 different credit card companies, and guess what? One of them will give the information or give that information if they have a partial profile of you. So again, remain vigilant. Hopefully this is exercise, and us being here has raised some awareness and given you some tips on how to keep yourself safe from identity thieves. Any other questions? Okay, seeing none, thank you so much. I appreciate your time allowing us to come.